China's property crisis has claimed another victim. This time, it is one of the biggest auditors in the world, PricewaterhouseCoopers, better known as PwC. They face a 6-month ban in China and have to pay a fine of $62 million. This is the largest penalty China has ever imposed on an auditor. So why is PwC being punished? This case is about Evergrande. It used to be China's biggest property developer. The company went bust earlier this year. China says Evergrande committed fraud and PwC helped them cover it up. PwC audited the books of Evergrande. Beijing says there were clear signs of fraud. But PwC chose to, and I'm quoting, they chose to turn a blind eye to them. It made, and I'm quoting again, material misstatements in the financial statements. That's what Chinese investigators have concluded. But what does that even mean? Let me explain. Evergrande was China's biggest property developer. It had over 1,300 projects across 280 cities. That's how big this company was. At its peak, Evergrande borrowed heavily to expand. It amassed a debt of more than $300 billion. It became the world's most indebted property developer, $300 billion. This giant mountain of debt became too much to handle for them. When sales dried up, revenues began to shrink. In 2021, Evergrande missed a payment deadline. It defaulted on its debt, and from there, it all went downhill. The property developer collapsed. Evergrande used to be the crown jewel of China's real estate boom. Today, it is a symbol of China's property crisis. But what role did PwC play in all of this, in this mess? PwC audited the financial statements of Evergrande. Just like an impartial referee in a football match, the auditor's job was to make sure that Evergrande followed all the rules, that it reported its financial details with accuracy. If there were mistakes or fouls, PwC was supposed to have blown the whistle. But it did not. Evergrande boosted sales by misrepresenting numbers. Reports say it exaggerated revenue by a whopping $78 billion. It took money from home buyers and showed this cash as revenue on the books without even building the apartments. This wasn't an accounting mistake. This was Evergrande cooking its books, and PwC signed off on those balance sheets. This is outright cheating. It affected everyone who did business with Evergrande. Banks who extended loans to the developer, investigators who bought Evergrande shares, and even home buyers and contractors. They all believed that the builder was financially stable. But they were fooled by the facade that PwC helped create. So now the auditor must face the music. In 2022, PwC was China's top auditor. Today, it has been slapped with a 6-month ban. Needless to say, its business has taken a hit. More than 30 companies in China have dropped PwC as their auditor. These companies are listed on Chinese exchanges. Meanwhile, PwC has admitted that it made a mistake. It has issued an apology and sacked 6 of its partners. But the ban will cause far greater damage. It hurts PwC's credibility, and that's everything for an auditor. PwC was among what is called the Big Four, the world's 4 biggest auditing firms. The other 3 are Ernst & Young, E&Y, Deloitte, and KPMG. But we must add here that PwC is not the only one to blame for this mess. It's an easy target. What were the Chinese regulators doing? Where were they when Evergrande was on a borrowing spree? In 2019, the company was worth over $30 billion. That was Evergrande's market capitalization. It remained above $30 billion for the most part of 2019. Do you know how much debt it was under at that point? More than $100 billion. That's more than thrice the market cap. You don't need an accountant to tell you that this is problematic. Such levels of debt are unsustainable. China could have sounded the alarm back then, but it did not. For years, Chinese regulators tolerated this borrowing spree. They assumed that the bubble will not burst. But it did. And now, instead of fixing the debt issues, China is looking for scapegoats. That's what PwC really is, a scapegoat.